What's up, guys? This is Twiggus Trades. This is going to be my first video, and today we're talking about a stock that I think is going to do really well in the second half of 2025, especially with rate cuts coming. The tariff scare has kind of gone away, and I think it's actually undervalued in two fronts. It's a very unique stock, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Alright, so this is what the stock looks like currently. It's sitting just below 80 cents. You see a spike on the 6-month graph because of Ethereum strategy. I'll get into all that in a minute. But in the meantime, just for transparency, I bought around here in early August after they made an announcement of a stock buyback. But all of that later. First, let's get into the company. So this is their website. You can look down here. They've covered a wide range of like digital media, all that stuff. The industry is growing for sure. I mean, if you're part of my generation, you've seen streamers go huge in the past year. Speed's doing an America trip, all those big trips from creators. They pay for this type of service. And not just that, there's plenty of other things, advertisers, businesses, know how to target consumers, all of that stuff. And then here's just their investor page, their mission statement, and then of course you see what I was touching on earlier, how big the industry is nowadays. It actually has a CAGR, I believe, of right there, just below 13%, which is pretty good for the future. And then annual revenue 100 million, and the stock's only valued at less than just about 75. And I mean, there's way more to that than just the revenue. I mean, there's like 6 different reasons why I was undervalued, and that's just one of them. So let's get into some of their subsidiaries and what they do to help generate revenue and why I believe they're going to help grow in the future. Alright, so I'm going to talk about their biggest revenue driver, which is something called Stream Hatchet. They bought it a while back, and the things that they do are audience and engagement analytics, which is like tracking viewer count, watch time, chat activity, demographics, all that stuff. Sponsorship tracking, which is like measuring the value of placements, like visibility on screen, how you use space, what the chat says during live streams. Competitive benchmarking, comparing creators, teams over time to measure like the share they have of the market in that space. Campaign reporting. This generates automated reports for agencies and brands to show how their campaign is doing. And then API access, and they allow data to be fed to platforms, agencies, esports teams that want to look at analytics for themselves. And so here's just a few ways they do that. Video game publisher, so you can see Stream Hatchet, understanding audience strategies, just gearing your game and the way to market to your audience through data and what people say, like if the chat mentions something that they're really zoning in on, you could expand on that in your overall advertising strategy. And then influencer marketing. So yeah, as it says there, engagement on all social platforms. I think this one's kind of like a no-brainer. You could figure this one out. Esports analytics, performance in live streaming, what they can improve on, what got more viewers, the chat more excited, all that stuff. And that's only set to grow in the future, and it's just one of the reasons why I believe this stock is undervalued. So let's take a look at the next one. Alright, the next subsidiary I want to talk about is something called Zoned Gaming. So this platform represents hundreds of streamers, TikTokers, YouTubers, all types of influencers, and it connects them with brand partnerships, sponsorships, and just ways to make money off of their platform. And then it helps with stuff like campaigns, creative development, negotiation, strategy, and something I'll dig a little deeper into later is how using like Stream Hatchet, as we said before, using that data to help target their campaign in the right way, develop it, and work out a strategy based on the data they already have. And that's pretty unique to this company. But let's just take a look at their website. There's a few good examples of like how this is applied into the real world. So Converse Custom, next High Snap Fortnite tournament. So I guess they helped produce the event, find people for it, help targeted advertising, all that stuff. And then a Ninja event. Yeah, it's basically just all this stuff about events they've done. I'd recommend if you're investing, just take a quick look through, see what they're doing, see if you like it or not. I know I do. This stuff is flying from what I've seen with all the campaigns and events like that. And Zone Gaming is definitely going to be in the center of it. Going back to what I said, combining that with like Stream Hatchet's data, and there's some other stuff they have too, and I'll get into that with this next subsidiary. Alright, so this next subsidiary is going to be Code Red. What they do, they work with esports. You can look at the description here on their website 20 years ago. So they've been in this business for a long time. And basically, they do a few different things. Influencer and talent marketing for esports, managing a roster of like streamers, YouTubers, pros, like Pro-Am tournaments, matching that talent with brands, sponsoring, event hosting, product placements, and they build those campaigns mostly for gaming focused brands, and they handle everything from like the talent selection to compliance and reporting, and then they manage these events and tournaments online or in person, promote these events, handle all the logistics, promotion, and this kind of is it's only in the EU and UK, so this kind of acts as their Europe base. And also, if brands are looking to enter like either United States or they're trying to go to Europe, it works perfectly because they can get referred to that company, and it's just another Gamesquare holding. So you won't see that with any other company having that much coverage around the world, especially in an area like this. And with that, I'm going to get into my next subsidiary. So another subsidiary they own is actually FaZe Esports. They don't own the media side. I'll get into that later. They made the right decision overall. This is the profitable part of FaZe. And if you don't know FaZe, you're probably not my age. But the core revenue streams for this one are sponsorship, brand deals, esports tournament winnings, creator appearances, streaming, merch, jersey sales, licensing, in-game items, all that stuff, collabs with games. There's not much to it, but it is a profitable business, and I think it's great that they have it. There's one more subsidiary I'm going to get to. Alright, so this is SideQuick, and what they do, it's used by brands, agencies, marketing teams to discover influencers based on like followers, what their kind of niche is, who follows them, and they manage the campaigns to pay them to like promote something. They have contact management, messaging, they track their real-time performance, clicks, conversions, ROI, return on investment, and they integrate this with e-commerce ad platforms, and then they also have integrations with Shopify, Salesforce, a lot of ad tools to help them track that. And again, it kind of goes in with the data. They can combine that with their campaigns, use that data for all types of stuff. So they have subscriptions, contracts, which could be tied to users, influencers, and campaigns. They can also work with larger clients. And there's actually some on their site I'll show you. And then some brands also pay for enhanced analytics, their own custom dashboards or campaigns. And then if we look here, influencer marketing, which is growing huge nowadays. I mean, you can't scroll far without seeing somebody promoting a product on like TikTok or Reels and stuff like that. And this is just some of the platforms they work on. Gaming, of course, but you know, everyday stuff, consumer, sports, food and beverage, agencies. And here's just a couple of the companies they do work with. And that's where we see a lot of revenue come from, is these contracts they signed, whether it's with Stream Hatchet, Sidequick, these campaigns, and that generates revenue for years. And you see some big names on here: Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Under Armour, Logitech, Universal. And the contracts are going to be key to getting this company to grow revenue, become profitable. And I'm going to talk about the fundamentals first, and then I'm going to get into the catalyst, where we'll bring up some of those contracts, because that kind of messed with the Q2 earnings this year for them. But it also means there's more revenue in the second half. But right now, let's dive into the fundamentals. All right, so this company does get a lot of coverage, so there's not really many analysts looking at it, but they do have a buy rating. But the more important part of this is the ratios, I guess. So they don't have a trailing or forward PE. They haven't really been profitable, but there's something you should take a look at, and it's right here. So we can see annual revenue climbing, but also that net loss. So we can see net loss throughout the year starts 11 million, 5 million, 26. I'm guessing that's an acquisition, 5 million, and now 3 million. And right in between this period here, their most recent earnings report was because of getting rid of FaZe Media, which is that second component to FaZe Esports. There's two parts. Esports is the profitable one. They kept that and got rid of the media part. Good decision on their end. This will bring the path to profitability up sooner. And yeah, let's look at a couple of the ratios. So price to sales currently 0.32, price to book 1.03. I mean, we look at their assets, they have a lot, and what's not included on here is their crypto, which is also huge for this company. So let's take a look at their holdings and what they've bought in over the past couple months. All right. So market cap 75, and their net asset value is higher than their market cap. And I think there's a clear path to profitability here. I mean, the CEO talked about his earnings call. He seemed pretty confident. I mean, their guidance is that they're going to achieve profitability within the next half year, which would make the stock clearly undervalued. And we see they have a ton of Ethereum. They kind of bought at exactly the right time. We've seen this huge bull run in Ethereum. That's up like 50%. And then they also have an NFT to diversify. Ethereum's taking a fall today, but I'm not too worried about it because there's something unique about their Ethereum, which other companies haven't really done. All right, so they have a partnership with something called Dialectic, which is a Swiss-based crypto asset manager and technology firm. They specialize in treasury management, yield optimization, and just all stuff crypto. It's pretty complicated, but they operate hundreds of millions of dollars. And they partnered with them this July. And Gamesquare's goal is to build up a $250 million Ethereum treasury. Right now they have over 70 million, and that's grown with the passive yields from that. And so they use decentralized finance strategies like staking. It's all this complicated stuff with like lending your crypto so they can use it to make something of it, like validating the new coins and stuff like that. It's really complicated, but basically they're targeting 8 to 14% yield off that per year, which differentiates it from all the others like BMNR, SBET, all those others that have Bitcoin treasuries. They don't have the same yield strategy like Gamesquare does. And usually you think that would boost their stock a little bit, but apparently not. And that's also why their stock jumped up early July, jumped by like 100% because they announced that plan with Dialect. However, to carry out that plan, they had to dilute their stock. So that was something I was concerned about when I was looking at this. But then something happened on August 5th, which finally convinced me to buy the stock. So they actually funded a stock repurchase program, which would be the the Ethereum gains, and this would be to acquire 5 million worth of Gamesquare stock. So this to me kind of showed, okay, they're ready to focus on bringing shareholder value, and there's also a lot of insider ownership as well. So I was pretty confident in this that they wouldn't really dilute it as much anymore. I know BMNR just funded like 20 billion more for Bitcoin buying, but I'm hoping Gamesquare is done with that. So hopefully this will get them in compliance with NASDAQ as well. Yeah, you can see here it still trades under $1.50 per share, so that's their current plan. And I mean, what the CEO says is right. I mean, the current market value doesn't capture the earnings potential from the Ethereum, which is worth more than the company itself, and from the organic company itself with all the subsidiaries and the growth there. And we'll get into some of the margins later and what the CEO has said, because this quarter was kind of slowed down with some unforeseen blocks, but those are going to be going away shortly, and I'll get into that. Alright, so this is their second quarter results. They were mostly down on everything, gross profit, revenue, but what's important here is that their net loss was 12 million last year. This time, now it's 3. And the revenue and gross profit can be attributed to the phase media going away. So it's really not that big of a deal right now. The stock's still crazy low market cap, plenty of room to run. And then next is their Ethereum treasury. They have almost 20 million in gains since they bought it. They bought the CryptoPunk NFT. So here's some actions they've taken recently. They got rid of Phase Media, which was the high loss division. They got rid of that. They've started to restructure and cut costs, targeting 5 million plus and annualized savings starting next quarter. And then their Ethereum treasury, we talked about that uniqueness of the 8 to 14 target and their partnership with Dialectic, which most crypto treasuries don't have. And then their guidance. So they're going to introduce full year guidance next quarter. 60% of their revenue is expected in the second half, which is mostly typical with it's seasonal in this kind of industry. But what they also mentioned on the earnings call, which I was tuned in for, is that with these tariffs, they had a couple contracts in China where they actually wanted to postpone. So we may see some of those come to fruition in this next quarter. And I mean, there's some pretty big gaming, like digital companies in China, Sony, Tencent. A contract with them could be a pretty big deal, so I'm definitely on the lookout for that. And then the revenue is going to grow with crypto performance, agency and teams mix, and then just expanding the partnerships, like I said, with more contracts. And he's also targeting profitability in Q3 with these cost reductions, the revenue growth in the back half, and then the comments from the CEO. So the CEO, Justin Kenna, he said Gamesquare is now in its strongest financial position ever. They're being aggressive about targeting that profitability next quarter. And he emphasized that the crypto treasury isn't just speculative. They're not just waiting on that price to rise. It's yield generating by letting Dialect use that treasury to validate coins, staking, and they get a return off that. And that's a lot of stuff other companies don't put their treasuries towards. And then they're in active talks with other crypto partners to monetize that yield and create an ecosystem. I know they just partnered with Anime Coin not too long ago. I think it was like last week. And I mean, I think they're in a great position. I think the stock's undervalued maybe by 2 to 3 times. I don't really do DCFs, but I can say for sure this is bound to beat the market. All right, so let's talk about the risks of this stock. The first risk is Ethereum falling. Odds are it won't fall below the level they bought it. They bought it at the perfect time. I mean, Ethereum just has been hitting all-time highs, but it would still have a couple ways to go to get down to where the level they bought it at. I mean, regardless, they get that 8 to 14% yield, so they should be okay. I don't think that's that big of a risk, but it's definitely something to consider. Tariffs, like what was on the earnings call, that pushed some of the contracts back. So if we see tariff reemergence, companies may not be willing to spend as much on these contracts. It might not be top of mind, but that seems to be going away with the postponements and everything. I think it'll be okay. And then if growth slows, I mean, it's always a possibility. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I believe they're in the right space and they have the right tools and the right combination to grow this company. I mean, they're doing a great job restructuring, bringing that cost down. We should see margins get better with that throughout this next quarter. I mean, if the guidance is right and they are profitable next quarter, I don't see anything stopping the stock from getting to $2-3, especially with it priced so low. It wouldn't take too much. And overall, I'm in. I believe in this company. I like what the CEO said on the call. I like the guidance. I like what they have. I think it's a great opportunity for multiple reasons. So let me know what you guys think. I'm happy to hear criticism, comments, ideas, any other stocks you want me to take a look at. I love doing this. I love sharing my research, and this is just one thing. The first thing I wanted to share with you guys. I got more on the way, so check out my links in the description. Leave a comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.